Yo, what is up, everybody? How's it hanging? How you doing? And all that jazz. This is me, it's Kevin from the Chord Progression podcast, brought to you by my song of the day, Rock 2000 to today. What's going on? How's everybody doing? Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday, or whatever day you're listening this on. I really don't mind. As long as you're listening, that's all I care about. We've got a guest. Wait, we got a guest? Yeah, we got a guest on the podcast today. We will dive into that in a little bit. But naturally, I got to start out with the shameless plug section. So the shameless plug section, of course, this would be if we had any ads. This is where they would be placed. But because, well, I'm not that big yet, we don't have ads. So I'm just going to tell you that straight up. Well, we're just going to plug all our own stuff. If you are a return listener, past listener, I want to give you a huge thank you and welcome back to the Chord Progression podcast. Love having you guys on here, love talking to you guys, and love presenting you with some great stuff on the Chord Progression podcast. If you are a new listener, I want to give you a huge welcome. Thanks for, giving us a shot, and hopefully you'll stick it out to the end and you'll like what you hear and you'll keep coming back for more. So yeah, that's that. So, what do we do here? Well, we've got multiple different places for you to basically take in the best rock community on the internet, or that's what I call it, and that's what I have on my business card, so haha. So, where can you follow us? Where can you follow all our stuff? Follow us on Facebook. On Facebook, this is where we run a lot of everything through, so kind of like, you'll know what the song of the day is, you'll know when the YouTube videos come out, you'll know when the podcast episodes come out, so you'll get to know everything when it releases. So follow us on our Facebook page. All links for everything in the description of the podcast. Follow us on Twitter as well, because that's where we really connect with you guys what's going on in music and talk to you guys and really get into the fold with you. Instagram, we do a lot on Instagram, including, talking to you guys, getting your take on music, like with the recent Asking Alexandria song that came out, The Violence, which I'm pretty sure I'll be talking about when we, have the guest on. We put out videos such as IGT videos, which are our behind-the-scenes vlogs, basically. We're basically just going and talk to you about, what's going on in music, or not necessarily what's going on in music, what's going on with us, and what we're planning on doing. We also do Instagram live stream, so you come for an hour, 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time, every Wednesday. You come with questions, we come with answers, and, we just get into one hell of a conversation. So please join us for that. And we just do a bunch of fun stuff on there, ask you questions, come up with some fun, creative, a lot of good images, and you'll know every time, there's a new album coming out. Also, check us out on YouTube, because we have YouTube videos as well, and we put the podcast out in the YouTube video, on the YouTube videos, but we put the podcast out on YouTube. We also do on YouTube such stuff as, we do our album reviews where we go deep dive into albums. We do those in there. We do full-on band reviews, my top 10s, answer questions, versus videos where we put two bands together and see which one comes out on top. So go check out all that. It's a bunch of great stuff. You get to hear me talk, so yeah, you're winning on that one. Yeah, if you like to hear my voice. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. And most importantly, we have an Alexa skill. Oh, that's where everything runs off of. Well, not everything, but that's the main driver, because that's where you get to listen to all this music. So in our description in the podcast, click on the Alexa skill link, and you'll be able to enable the skill from there. And then at that point, all you have to do to hear the song of the day is say, "Hey, Alexa, play." Oh, Alexa, stop. Mostly I have her in my room, and I don't really want her to go off. So you say, "Hey, Alexa, play my song of the day," and she'll say, "Playing your song of the day." And then you'll get like a 5-second intro from me, what day it is, a little message, the artist, the song, and then you get to hear the whole entire song. It's starting. Once it's over, boom, it's over. You want to listen again, just do the exact same thing, and you get the song for 24 hours. The next day, boom, you get a brand new song. It's a great way to rediscover old bands that you love, discover new bands that you didn't know existed, discover old songs that you forgot about or didn't know were by certain artists. It's a great way to really get involved in the rock music community and get your day started out right, get your day, midway through the day going right, maybe end the day. I don't know how you use it, but I don't mind as long as you're on the platform. So go enable that on your device now and just be a part of the greatest rock community on the internet. So that's where I got going there. So enough with shameless plugs, because that can be kind of annoying at times. So my guest today, let me give you a little background at first on him. I put out an ad to kind of just try and promote the Chord Progression podcast, and this person said, "Hey, I listened to your episode. I love it, and I can't wait to listen to more." I'm like, "Great!" So him and I got talking just about music and whatnot, what's going on, and I thought, you know what, this kid would be great to have on the podcast. And I asked him, dude, you want to be on the podcast? He gave me a resounding yes, and now he's going to be on the podcast. His name is Andrew. I'm not going to give out his last name unless he wants to, so we'll ask him that question. And he sent me a list of stuff that, will be interesting to talk about, but we'll see what we get to. We'll see what happens, and we're just going to have one hell of a conversation for you today. So, shall we give Andrew a call? Because I think we should. Do I have the volume up on that? No, I don't. Well, now I do, so let's give Andrew a call. Let's see what happens as the phone rings. Again, if it doesn't pick up, I'm going to be super embarrassed.
Hey, Kevin, what's up?
Is this Andrew?
Yeah.
Yes, still 100% on calling people and having them pick up on me. I'm still waiting for the one where, someone's not going to answer. I'm going to have to, be real embarrassed on the podcast. So thanks for picking up, Andrew, and welcome to the Chord Progression podcast. Happy to have you.
Yeah, no, I'm psyched. I'm psyched, dude.
Alrighty, so just start out with this, just so give some people give the people that listen a little bit of background about yourself. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
20 years old, living in Minnesota. Currently not in college, working full time and hoping to work some side on music. So,
what kind of music specifically are you really looking to work on? And are you singing like singer-songwriter stuff? Just working with a specific instrument? What do you plan on doing with that?
Right now it's a combination of songwriting, and I'm looking for internships as a producer. So.
Ooh, interesting. Are you looking to just stick within that Minneapolis area, or are you looking to kind of go further out west, maybe to like LA, where you can really maybe have a little bit more of a larger pool of companies to maybe get into?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to start out in Minnesota and then eventually work my way over to California. Yeah. Hopefully in, 5-10 years. We'll see.
Interesting. I mean, it seems like you have a little bit of a goal in place or like a mindset where you want to end up, but what are you currently doing right now to try and get to that point?
Well, posting quick covers on Instagram. I'm going to be working on a couple of vocal covers this weekend to post on YouTube, that kind of stuff.
That's fantastic because it's kind of the best way to go about where you're showing what you can do without saying like, oh, I haven't necessarily haven't gotten like, a degree in something like this, because I mean, granted, there's people that have done like audio mixing and they had degrees back from like 2008, 2009. And with how fast everything changes, especially within the tech world and, producing music, you got to show what you can do at the moment. And if you're just going to keep posting stuff on Instagram, posting stuff on YouTube, just showing what you can do both with writing songs and performing covers and making sure that they sound crisp and clean so that when the audience hears them, they're getting the best quality. That's something you got.
Right. And I even did a interview for an internship a couple months ago. I was talking with the guy and he was asking like why I left school. And I was like, well, in all honesty, to me, it's more about the quality of work that you can do rather than getting a piece of paper that says, I studied this for 4 years. So
I'll put it this way. I agree with you 100% on that. The one thing you always have to remember is there's still going to be some very slow movers in that area, so they're going to want that piece of paper. However, as time goes on, that piece of paper means jack shit.
Right, exactly.
So it's like even for me, it's, my degree that I got 2.5 years ago, it's as time has gone on, that means less and less. And it means more of, what have you done now? What have you done since you've graduated and what have you done since then? So.
Well, I think even like the upcoming generation, like they're so influenced by media and, college used to be like, well, it is still kind of the norm after high school. But, media is kind of influencing more of that just entrepreneurship kind of thing. So,
well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens and kind of going off on a little bit of a tangent here with a potential economic downturn, which I think is going to be happening rather soon due to the amount of college debt and outstanding debt that students have, which is going to potentially end up dragging down the economy, much like how the housing crisis did 10 years ago. And then who knows what's going to happen at that point, where that kind of entrepreneurship being cool might not seem like a cool thing anymore, and trying to get a steady job with a steady pay, benefits, and make sure that you're surviving might be, the way to go. However, it's kind of what you want to do. And I don't think necessarily it's the media is not necessarily pushing most that to a certain extent. But if you go really dive deep in a lot of people that are really talking about that, such as Gary Vaynerchuk or Andy Frisella from the MFCEO Project, I mean, they talk about, but they're completely and bluntly honest about it, where it's like, if you're not good enough, then you'll know it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so kind of coming on to music as well, because you're really kind of getting into it when you're talking about producing and, doing covers. So when it comes to, getting entrenched in music, how'd you start off getting into the music that you like, and what bands are you really big into? Kind of tell us that story.
So when I was living in Wisconsin, I guess the first band I ever really got into was Simple Plan. I was a huge Scooby-Doo fan when I was little.
Who wasn't a huge Scooby-Doo fan when they were little? Come on, Scooby-Doo was the shit.
Hell yeah. But when the Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed, when that live-action movie came out, I had to get the DVD because I was such a big fan. And there was a music video that Simple Plan did. And then, and so I listened to Simple Plan for quite a bit. And then after that, when I started wanting to get into some more music, the library in town had an awesome selection of music, had an awesome selection of CDs. You could just rent them out for like a week. And so I just get, like 20 CDs and just listen to that all week.
Where was this in Wisconsin? Was this like because I think you said like maybe the Appleton area?
Appleton, yep, Fox Valley.
God damn, they've got a good ass library if they got all that music. So what other kind of albums would you get when you were, basically borrowing them from the library? What bands are you really focusing in on, including Simple Plan?
Man, it ranged from a lot of pop punk stuff, Green Day. What else was there?
Like Blink-182, Fall Out Boy, maybe Panic at the Disco, Taking Back Sunday. Trying to think just some more off the top of my head real quick. Maybe Paramore.
Yellow Card. Yep,
Yellow Card.
Sum 41.
Good Charlotte. Yeah.
Yep. And then there were also a couple of, I guess you could say, easier rock groups like Three Doors Down, Daughtry. I kind of hate to admit it, but Nickelback.
That's okay.
Some Creed.
Yeah. I'll say this, as much as I really don't like Creed's music, the one great thing we got out of Creed was guitarist Mark Tremonti. That's the one good thing we got out of that.
I'm curious, why don't you like Creed?
I just really don't like the just kind of the whole entire the way their music sounded. It all kind of sounded a little bit preachy, a little bit too similar. And I can't remember the lead singer's name, but his vocals, I just did not really like them at all. It just it was a little bit cringy on my end.
All right, fair enough. I actually went. Guy's name is Scott Stapp, and I actually went to see him live. It was a good concert, I thought.
With Creed or with his new band?
With his new band.
I'm actually curious. I kind of want to see him with his new band though, just to kind of see how that vocal plays off. It might just been like a mixture between the way the music sounded and the way the vocals were, because sometimes they just don't mix, and I think that might be the case for it, because I mean, anything that Mark Tremonti's done after that, whether it be Alter Bridge or whether it be the Tremonti Project, I mean, both of those are just absolutely fantastic.
Well, he was covering mostly Creed songs, so.
I still really like what he's got. I can't lie. I like what he's got.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're saying you're a big fan of Simple Plan, now I gotta get your take on this. One of my friends sent me a message, and there goes a motorcycle right by my window. But one of my friends said that Simple Plan, he called them the band that invented depression for our generation, and I did get a huge kick out of that. So I wanted to see what you thought about that.
I would totally agree with that. Welcome to My Life just totally that. Yeah, no, I would totally agree with that. I would say Simple Plan probably sent me into my angsty teen years prematurely. So I would totally agree with that.
Hey, we all went through those angsty teen years, so it's never a bad thing to go through those years because then you really kind of get to become more of your own person. You get to kind of explore a little bit more into
Right.
what you like, and just might be just basically straight up rebelling, against what everybody else around you is doing. I kind of went through the same thing, but I went a little bit of a different path. I kind of went more metal and not pop punk. With I went all in on Disturbed when I was in my like real angsty years,
Right. Right.
and again,
I,
totally worth it.
so I started out with pop punk, and then when I got to high school, I actually went to a dorm school for high school.
Okay.
And my roommate freshman year, he was big into the metal bands. He was into Of Mice and Men, Asking Alexandria, Black Veil Brides. He was Emotionless in White. He was into a lot of those metal bands. And at first, I wasn't big into them. I kind of found the screaming to be annoying to a certain point, but it eventually got around to me, and now I love bands like that. Of Mice and Men, Asking Alexandria, Motionless in White, all good stuff.
Yeah, all good stuff. I have to agree with that, especially now I gotta ask you this question. Did you hear the new single from Asking Alexandria? I think it's called The Violence.
I have not yet. I've seen a lot of posts about it on Instagram, but I haven't actually listened to the song yet.
I'm not gonna really go much into the song with you because I'd rather have you listen to it first, but then have me kind of maybe ruin it. But all I can say is I'll put it out this way: if you're gonna listen to the song, watch the music video with the song. They did a fantastic job on this music video. They're just basically fighting zombies the whole entire time.
Right. Yeah, that was all the Instagram post was just a bunch of, shots of the guys in like zombie makeup and stuff.
Yeah, and then basically them just going all Dawn of the Dead and just shooting them a bunch of them in the face and going absolutely insane. It's pretty
Right.
fun to watch.
Yeah. Yep.
Alrighty, well, because thinking about you really kind of went off on Simple Plan for a little bit. You got any good stories potentially with Simple Plan? Like if you ever met the band, any good concert stories with that band or anything around that?
Yes, I have the best and saddest story of with that band.
All right, I want to hear it right now.
So Warped Tour 2018. I was super psyched. It's the last year for Warped Tour. There's quite a few bands I want to see, and I get there, and I hear that Simple Plan has a meet and greet, and I'm like, oh hell yeah, these guys got me into music. I'm gonna meet these guys, and so the two guys that I was with, they really wanted to see Motionless in White, and at the time I actually wasn't into them, but yeah, so they wanted to go see Motionless in White, and they went to do that while I went to go meet Simple Plan. At the time, my phone was doing this really weird thing where every once in a while it would just glitch out on me and like the touchscreen wouldn't work, whatever. So instead of using my phone for pictures, I brought like an actual digital camera with me.
Oh wow, throwback to like 2004, 2005 right there.
Yeah. No, it was a cheap little thing that I had gotten as like a white elephant or something. But so I get up to the front of the line, I meet the band, they take a picture with me with this little digital camera, they sign my ticket. So I just got to meet my favorite band, so that was really cool. I'm looking back at this picture and I'm like, oh, I actually look really good in that picture. So fast forward to later that night when they actually played. They're playing, I'm having a good time. And then the drummer, Chuck, he comes out. I don't remember exactly which song it was, but he came out for one of the songs, out front for one of the songs, and said, if you have never crowd surfed before, I want everybody to get up and get crowd surfing. And I was like, you know what? I've never crowd surfed before. This is my favorite band. I'm going to do this.
I've kind of got a feeling where you're going to go with this, but I'm not going to spoil it. Keep going.
I had a backpack with me, so I threw most of my stuff in my backpack. Got up crowd surfing, and of course, I get done crowd surfing, check my pockets, the camera's gone.
Oh no.
Yep, the camera with the picture with Simple Plan is gone. So
That's pretty much the exact reason why I refuse to crowd surf up until this point, because usually when I go to shows, I've been going a lot more by myself, and I am not
right,
risking losing my wallet, my phone, my keys. I'm not risking losing any of that. I will freely jump into the mosh pit and lose my shoes if I have to, which has happened before.
yep. Yeah, no, I had two buddies with me and a backpack, so I figured I'd be fine, but I don't know, I must have just missed the camera in my pocket, and I was like, ah.
Yep, so it's like there goes that photo.
Right, exactly.
That's that. I mean, that's one of the better stories. Like, oh, you get to finally meet the band that you've been, fully into for God knows how long at that point, like probably like 11, 12 years. And then all of a sudden you get to see my like Warped Tour right as Warped Tour is ending. You get to crowd
Yep,
surf for the first time. It's like, this is going to be awesome. And then the best photo that you've taken, the one that you have in that camera, and there it goes. Just gone.
there it goes.
But then again, the one thing you always have is you always have that memory, and now you've got one hell of a story to tell with like, yeah, everything was going good, and then I lost the camera.
Right, exactly. And I still have the ticket with their signatures, so I still got that too.
So it's like if someone says, oh, that didn't happen, be like, I got proof.
I got proof.
Motherfucker!
But who's to say they're not forged? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, if you go to Las Vegas and you get the guys that the Pawn Stars have that come in and be like, "Oh, let's take a look here," and then they're gonna talk to you for 15 minutes to see if it's an authentic signature, but you're like, "Yeah, I know it's an
right,
authentic signature," so you're gonna say
right.
it is authentic, and then I'm gonna be on my merry way, and I'm gonna tell people, "Boom, it's authentic. I got the piece of paper to prove it. It's signed by the Pawn Stars guys as witnesses. Oh yeah."
Yep.
I mean, Manchester, that might not be the best use of time, but might be worth
Yeah,
it.
might be worth it. We'll see.
So yeah, because then it seems like after really that pop punk era, when you're getting more into that more metal and metalcore scene, getting really into bands like I think you said like Asking Alexandria, of Mice and Men. I know you said that your roommate your freshman year of high school really was into Black Veil Brides, but I know you didn't say that in there, so I'm kind of curious as to if you really just didn't get into them, or if that's something that you just like, I'm just not feeling it, or what's going on there.
Black Veil Brides. I don't know. There was a point where I really liked their stuff. Right around the Wretched and Divine album was right around where I really liked them. And then when they came out with album number 5, then to me it was just kind of like, okay, I'm starting to notice that like the guitars are just very shred heavy and they're very muddy, in my opinion.
Interesting. Just because again with the Black Veil Brides, one thing I've been seeing a lot of lately, ever since I kind of really started this whole entire project and really got into this much more than I was, is when it comes to Black Veil Brides, it seems like there's a pretty clear divide between people that like the band and people that really dislike the band.
I'm indifferent. I'll listen to them on occasion, but they're not like my favorite band.
I've kind of leaned more towards like I've actually enjoyed listening to them more and more, but they're not. They're not. I don't think they're really top 25 band for me.
Right.
It's I know one thing that gets a lot of people kind of out of whack on Black Veil Brides is Andy Biersack's voice, which I'm kind of surprised because his voice is rather unique to a point where it's if you hear it, it's like it's him.
I think also like a lot of people probably, I can understand why people don't like them because they've been considered metal, which in my opinion they're more hard rock. I would not consider them metal.
On their debut album, they kind of had a lot more metal tendencies, especially on a song like Knives and Pens. But then when
Well,
they
yeah,
went to Set the World on Fire with their second album, they went more hard rock and like that 80s arena rock sound.
yeah,
And then they've been, muddling with that a little bit, but it's kind of become a more consistent hard rock sound with that Wretched and Divine album, their self-titled album, and then Veil, which came out in 2018.
yeah, yeah. And you listen to interviews with Andy, and he says how Kiss really influenced him, and you can definitely tell that on like Set the World on Fire. You can for sure tell that Kiss was an influence.
Oh, you can easily tell that. Just take a look at the like their appearance and the makeup that they don for, especially for all
Exactly.
the music videos that are around that. And one thing that whenever I think listen to the sound of the album, because I actually showed my dad "Fallen Angels" because I thought, well, first when I heard that song, I thought that would fit in perfectly with that 1980s scene. You know, think Motley Crue, Van Halen, Poison. Poison was the one I was like, that's pretty much where it exactly lands on. Oddly enough, Poison has a song called Fallen Angel that my dad and I would play the hell out of back when I was like 3 years old because it was fun as all hell. And I showed it to him. He's like, and he was actually really impressed by it. He really liked it. So I was like, okay, I'm good with that. So kind of that's where why I actually really like the Set the World on Fire album, because it reminds me a lot of what I would listen to with my dad when I was growing up and my like really young. So like between when I was like 2 to 5.
Yeah, I actually have a really good memory with Fallen Angels. So at my high school, there was one night a year they played trivia night. Everybody would show up in the gym and just play basically a big trivia game. Like everybody would divide into teams and stuff. And I think because it was my freshman year, and I think this was like the first year they had ever done it. And me and my roommate and this other guy, we weren't on any teams. You had to pick the teams before the night started, and we weren't on any teams. So we were all just like, you know what? Let's just all chill in our room. So we're chilling in our room, and we were just jamming to that song like as loud as my stereo can go. And the dean of students walks in on us, and he just looks around the room. He's like, "Have a good night, guys," and closes the door and walks away.
He had to be expecting something so much worse, and all of a sudden come in and just sees three guys just rocking out, just having a good time, and not
Right,
doing anything
right.
that he expected. Like there was no drinking, no drugs going on. He's like, oh, okay. Plus,
Right,
he actually
exactly.
might have just liked the song and wanted to come on in and maybe hear more of it a lot clearer.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think that would have happened.
You never know. I mean, some people they kind of just hide their what they like in music just to kind of appeal to the masses and appeal to the people that are around them, because I kind of did that a little bit back when I was in like 4th and 5th grade, just because I started at a new school and trying to get in with the kind of like get to be more accepted by the kids. It was, try and like what they liked, even though I really didn't like it. But
Mm.
then after a while, I kind of got sick of it. They started trying to like shove different music down my throat, and I kind of rebelled into it. So 8th grade comes along, and everyone's listening to like Beyonce, uh, Justin Timberlake, early Kanye, like Akon, and then there's me listening to Disturbed, and clearly someone won in this one, and it was me.
Yep, yep. That's the better stuff. Yeah.
Have you listened to any of Andy's solo project stuff on the like Andy Black at all?
I have not, solely based on the fact that like I heard about promotional stuff for, what was it, We Don't Have to Dance or something like that. And that just kind of turned me off to it because it sounded very poppy to me, and I'm like, oh.
It's definitely a very far cry from what Black Veil Bride does. So he kind of has the two completely separate in terms of style, sound, everything.
Right, right.
Because
So yeah,
I did listen to these his Ghost of Ohio album, which came out this year, and I like the concept that he went off with it, but the execution I was not the biggest fan of in any sense.
hmm hmm I have kind of this theory that like if somebody goes on a solo career, it's very difficult for them to stay heavy, because I was even looking at some of Matty Mullen's stuff today.
Oh,
Like he has some of his own individual work, and it's not like Memphis Mayfire, or what's the other one? Danny Warsnop. He has a few songs out by himself, and he actually just released an album by himself too. Um, they sound very like country and funky and bluesy, and
oh, interesting.
yeah,
Well, I mean, you do get some people that when they do go off on their own, they still tend to keep that hard sound. I mean, I think the best example I can think of for that is Ozzy.
oh sure, sure, sure.
So it is viable, but I do agree with you where the majority of people, when they kind of, if they're, more in that rock scene or more the metal scene, and they do break off and do like a solo project, then it tends to be softer. However, I've actually seen one where they tried to have gone harder, but it's not necessarily like a solo project, more like a spin-off with Fight the Fury, because that's John Cooper from Skillet, and it's just they basically took like the hard stuff that Skillet does and cranked it up a little bit. So I was like, I was impressed by that because I like that harder sound. So
and then you got Jen Ledger who did her own project, and that was a little more poppy techno kind of stuff.
Yeah, so you can kind of see the difference in between the two.
Right, exactly. And then they come back to, release the Victorious album, and it's just, a combination of both again.
Yeah, but it's actually been, from what I've gotten off of the Victorious album from the first 3 singles so far, with Legendary was a little bit kind of a little bit more of a harder sound, but not fully as hard as some of the other songs that Skilled has done. But then when you got to Save Me, that was the one that really did it for me. I'm like, this is insane. I'm loving this. I can't wait to see what happens, especially because Skillet mentioned that this was going to be their hardest album to date. So
really?
I'm real excited about it. And then you hear Anchor, which goes much softer, much more of that, that like Christian music kind of vibe, which of course you're going to get that from Skillet, and they're going to end up putting something like that in an album. And in terms of the message of the song, I think they got that through very clearly. However, in terms of myself, it's like, if I'm going to pick a song off that album that's already come out off the singles, I'm going to Save Me every single time. And unfortunately, I have not seen him play that song live, even through the 2 times I've seen him this year, so darn it.
Yeah. I've seen Skillet once. That was a while back. I think it was like 2014 or something like that. But, the times that I've heard you like mention Skillet and how like they really bring the energy to the show, like that is so true. Oh my gosh.
It all derives off of John Cooper too.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
Like the best way to describe it is probably when they're trying to think what song puts it, when they're playing Monster. That song describes it the best, because when the chorus comes in, he's singing it, but he's jumping around, going full force on it. I'm trying to think what other songs he kind of really jumps around on that we saw. Back from the Dead, he goes really hard into.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun to watch him play. And if you look at everyone else kind of in the band too, you take a look at Jen Ledger. When she's drumming, you just see the hair flying all over the place. So you kind of get the energy from the back as well. And then you take a look at Seth and Corey. Seth and Corey are just up there playing, having a good time.
Yep. Yeah. I actually went to that concert with my dad, and he didn't know any Skillet songs, but when we left the concert, he was just like, I didn't know any of their songs, but like I was able to get into it just because they rock so hard. Like they just put so much energy into it.
Yeah, it really draws you into that show too, and that's why there's certain bands I really like to see live for that specific reason, because they just bring you right on into it with the energy. You could be kind of having a bad day, you might not be feeling it, but you just see that energy that's up there on stage, and holy shit, do you just get into it?
Yeah, it does something to you.
I'll say, do you have any other bands that you could think of that like really bring that kind of an energy? Because I do have a couple, but I want to see what you think.
I would say, the one band I told you, Moscow, the one that opened up for Of Mice and Men.
Yeah.
Holy cow, they bring some energy.
Interesting, because I got a couple, and I want to see your take on them. So the bands that I always think that, whenever I see them, that they bring energy, and the crowd always gets into them. So for the bands I'm thinking of, one, I gotta go with Rise Against. I've seen them so many times, and it's just, they get up there and they just play hard no matter what.
I've never seen any live performances by them, but I can imagine just from how hard their music is, how passionate it is. I can totally imagine that.
It's so much fun to be at those concerts. If you have a chance to go, I'd say go.
All right. Yep.
Another one, Hollywood Undead.
I have actually never listened to them.
Really?
Never listened to them. No. I need to. I know I do.
Yeah, because you know what they're about, though, right?
Not really.
they're more of like that rap rock style, but they've kind of started to get away from it a little bit. So if you listen to the first 2 albums, they really go hard with that rap rock style. You listen to the third album, it kind of goes a little bit more. I really like the third album though. I'm trying to think of a song for you to listen that really would get you into it. Would really get that kind of give you that vibe. So from the first album, I'd go with the first song off the album. It's called Undead. That's probably like their most popular one. Off the fourth album, I'd go with the titular song of the album, Day of the Dead, because that would really get you that kind of feel. Off their fifth album, I'd go with the lead single, California Dreamin'. I'm trying to get you some other ones too. And then the second album, go with Hear Me Now. That'd probably be your best ones to kind of really get down with what their style is consistently.
All right.
Let's see some other bands that I've seen that have really brought the energy. Because I've seen some that they kind of like they just don't bring the energy as much as others. Which is why when I saw Skillet the first time, they came on before Breaking Benjamin. And I really like Breaking Benjamin, but trying to follow the energy that Skillet brings and with Breaking Benjamin's style of music, it just wasn't there.
And I'm not going to lie, Panheads are ridiculous. Like, they are hardcore fans.
Oh,
I would say.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that from shows. I've seen that online because I've talked to so many Panheads online just in regards to what's going on with Skillet, watching seeing shows, posting videos, getting a lot of feedback on those. And just talking to fans at the concerts, it's ridiculous, but it's a good ridiculous.
Right.
I'll say the other band that the one time I saw them, the amount of energy that was brought at that show was absolutely insane. Was a couple months ago when I saw Motionless in White.
So when I went to see Motionless in White, that was an interesting concert to watch for me because I got to see it from the perspective of a hardcore Motionless in White and Atreyu fan, a guy who was not, he's into metal, but wasn't really into those bands at the time. And then 2 girls who they're not into metal, but they literally will listen to anything. It was me, my buddy Phil, and our 2 girlfriends. And it was just interesting because my buddy Phil, he was the Motionless in White Atreyu fan, and obviously, I'm the metal guy. The other 2 are girls who will listen to anything.
Also, I just want to quickly interrupt you because I got to ask you this question. When did you see this show? Was this when they were recently on tour together over like the past couple of months?
Yeah, the Spring Invasion tour.
Okay, so you probably saw the show that was either right before the one I saw or the one right after I saw.
Yep. And you had mentioned how like Motionless in White brought more energy than Atreyu. Maybe this was just because of the group of people I was with, but we actually were more intrigued by Atreyu's performance. I don't know, we got more into it with Atreyu than we did it with Motionless in White. One thing that my girlfriend noticed was that a lot of Motionless in White's light cues were very, very similar throughout the entire thing. Like, it was always lights. End of the song, they're just down, and then a nice, ambient kind of look, and then back up for the next song. Like, it was very, very similar throughout the entire thing. And I'm not going to lie, we were all kind of halfway through Motionless in White's set, we were all just kind of like, okay, this is starting to sound very similar.
Okay, just curious to see about that. What was the venue that you were at for that show?
Skyway Theater.
Okay, what was was it like kind of like, because you're saying Skyway Theater, was it more of that like concert hall vibe where it's, or I should say like concert hall vibe where it's open, where there's just a floor and everyone's standing, or were there like actual seats? I'm just trying to get a vibe on what the venue was like, because again, I did live in Minneapolis for 3.5 years, but I've actually never been to that place, so I just want to get a good feel about how it was in there.
Yeah, concert hall. They had just kind of a floor out front, and then back farther there were benches, not necessarily seats, but benches, and there was a bar in the back too. So
okay, it sounds a little bit similar to where I was, because I saw them at the Sylvie in Madison, and they've got this they've got like this open floor that's actually kind of dug into the ground a little bit. Then you kind of can walk up the stairs. They got railings over there for people to lean on. They got balcony seating. They got like 3 different bars all over the place. So it's kind of like if you really want to be in with the people, in with the crowd, and get into the pit, that's where you want to be, and that's where I was pretty much the whole entire time. Now, the reason I kind of was more on Most White than Atreyu was with Atreyu, it was they were up there, they were playing, but I thought they just looked a little bit tired, except for the bassist. The bassist jumped into the pit.
That dude, yeah. I thought it was kind of funny. We were watching him constantly move his beard of his bass, like his beard was getting in the way of his playing, and we thought it was so funny.
That is good. Did Wilson open up for both of those when you saw him?
Yeah, Wilson.
What'd you think of Wilson?
It was interesting. Like they came out and you honestly have no idea what to expect because, the lead singer's got kind of this poppy Brendan Urie kind of vibe.
With like the floral jacket, the fluorescent pants.
Yeah. And then you got I don't remember how many of the guys, but a couple of the guys looked like they were in 80s hair bands. And then the one dude looked like, what did he look like? He looked like some country rock artist named Brantley Gilbert. And then you had the guy in the back with the ski mask.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about the ski mask guy.
Yeah, I had no idea what that was about. But yeah, honestly, the whole group of people that I went with, whole set, we're just looking at each other like, what the hell is this?
That's interesting. Well, and the other difference between the shows that we saw was because you were with 3 other people, and you had with one that was a hardcore fan, and with both your girlfriends who you said would just listen to anything. Whereas when I went, I was all by myself, so it was kind of, wherever I wanted to be, I could be. And when it comes to trying to, get good videos just for content purposes and just because it's going to be where I want to be, I will always want to be right by where the pit is. And most of the time I end up getting thrown in there anyway, just having a good time. But during Motionless in White's set, most of the energy, it wasn't as like crazy energy that someone like John Cooper would bring. But what Chris did in that show was it was more contained, but it was just out there too. So I don't really know how to describe it.
It was there.
Yeah. And also just sometimes when he was on stage, he just kind of got goofy at times, which always kind of like lightened the mood a little bit, and it was always fun to watch.
Well, that's what we thought with Atreyu because they were constantly making jokes on stage, and it was a lot of fun. I don't know. They seemed like they were just having a lot of fun with it. And both bands actually, like, I don't know if they were making this up or if they actually meant this, but they were saying that like this was the best crowd on tour and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know.
Again, they might have been saying, I don't think they didn't say that to us though, so they might be telling the truth on that one.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Now I feel slighted.
You got ripped off.
Yeah, what the hell? I had high hopes, and now there's this.
I have a short story from that concert. So
all right, let's go.
So I don't remember exactly like chronologically how this happened, but Chris is coming up towards the front of the stage. You know how concerts there's shit flying everywhere, like water bottles, beer cans, whatever, what have you, and something flew up towards Chris, and some guy jumped up and smacked it out of the way before it hit Chris.
No way.
Yeah. And Chris was just like, holy shit, like you got some cat-like reflexes. And then looks over at the security guard, like holding back the rail. He's like, you want to replace this guy? You want to replace this guy? Like, this guy's just standing here not doing his job. And then same thing happened. Another water bottle flew up and the guy just smacked it out of the air. Whole crowd's going, oh!
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
We got to get more people like that up front just for the hell of it.
Right.
Or have them run security, because I've seen some security gaffes at shows that, well, we were just trying to make things better, but apparently security doesn't like us when we make things better.
Come on, we're just trying to have a good time here.
Yeah, we're just trying to find. We just need room to mosh. You're not going to give us any room, so what we're going to do? We're going to tip.
What are you gonna?
We're going to tip up the benches and get more room.
Yep. If you don't have more room, we're gonna make it.
Yeah, the guys at August Burns Red really loved when we did that.
Oh, I bet they did.
The Summerfest crowd, or let's say the Summerfest security, was not happy.
Oh, yikes! I always thought it was interesting that at Warped Tour they always had like signs for no moshing, no crowd surfing, basically because they don't want to get sued and then have to end the tour, which ironically it's over. But you always get lead singers who are just like, everybody up, everybody in the mosh pit. Like, okay, well, lead singer said it, we're gonna do it.
Well, that's what happened when, because the show that I saw, Underworld Skillet and Breaking Benjamin, because they really didn't want anyone moshing at the show. But then all of a sudden, Spencer from Underworld during their last song was calling. He's like, I need to see a goddamn mosh pit in the middle of the floor right now. And I was kind of on the side. All of a sudden, some kid ran right across from me, and I grabbed onto his shoulder. He's like, what the hell, man? I'm like, I'm just following you to the mosh pit, dude. And he looked at me and said, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
And that's when I lost my shoes.
Oh yeah.
I love the fact that happened, because I still got them back though, which was nice. But I was without them for a little bit.
Have you ever seen Falling in Reverse live?
No. I was gonna try and go see them when they were in Chicago back in May, but I think they were playing on a Tuesday, and with the fact that I actually work a full-time job as well, wasn't necessarily the best move for me to make. Now, I think really the only band like I would jump to Chicago to see on a weekday and not give a crap would be like Rise Against.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I never got a chance to see Flying in Reverse.
The only reason I mentioned that is because you have mentioned that Jacoby from Papa Roach has like this kind of goofy character on stage.
Yeah. And
I would like, if I was to compare that with anybody, Ronnie Radke. Oh my goodness, that guy is just a freak on stage. Like he's toned down since like the new releases of like Losing My Life and Drugs. Like he's kind of toned down on stage, but 2016 I saw Falling in Reverse at Warped Tour, and he just, even the way he'd walk across the stage, like he'd almost walk like stagnant, like his legs would go straight out. It was so weird.
That's why it's like I like watching Jacoby on stage too, because when he gets up there, they always have this like, it's kind of like one of those like, I'm trying to think of what the best way to put it. Like if you're in the gym and you got the platforms to jump on, like they put like a 3-foot one up on stage, and he would just go up on it, maybe 2 foot, I don't know, but he would just go up on it, and he would just kind of go all wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man on it, and it just looked hilarious.
I still remember when we were at the Falling in Reverse concert, he had the crowd split, and then like building anticipation for a wall of death, and then building anticipation, and he's just like, if you guys think we're gonna do a wall of death, you're fucking crazy. like that is some dumbass shit. Like what?
It's like, oh come on, those are fun. Especially if you do them while you're trying to go, well, like in winter, trying to go sledding. We've done that a couple of times where people are going off a jump, and all of a sudden, like 10, 15 feet behind the jump, there's a whole wall of people just standing there, and you're trying to see if you can hit them over.
Nice.
This is what happens, when you're in Wisconsin, you go sledding in the winter, and you have a couple, 2 tree beers there, and you just get an idea to go, like, do this. And then you get a bunch of other people that are like, oh, what are they doing? And then you get a bunch of like metalheads that are sledding for some reason. They're like, holy shit, can we join? And we're like, get on in here.
Yeah, I love how the metal community is just like, yeah, come on, let's go.
It's such a welcoming community. It's fantastic. Just because I'll put it this way. I mean, I've gone to so many shows this year already just by myself. Mm-hmm. And I like with people, I don't remember their names. I don't necessarily remember where they're from. But for that night, we're just the best of friends.
Like, yeah, friendships are made. Yeah. I remember a Sum 41 concert at Warped Tour, and, you would just, like, I'd look to the person next to me, and we'd just be like screaming the lyrics at each other. Didn't know the person, but just jumping around having a good time.
All right, now that you mentioned Sum 41 on the 19th, they're coming out with their new album. What do you think that's going to end up entailing? How do you think that's going to turn out for the band?
I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of 13 Voices, that album. So, yeah, I don't know what to expect exactly.
I mean, hopefully expect the best.
Right.
Just because I'm curious to see what happens, because I don't think we're going to get the same we're definitely not going to get the same kind of Sum 41 that we had when they were playing like Fat Lip or In Too Deep.
No. I feel like there's definitely going to be more of a, I guess, hard rock factor.
Yeah, and I'm really interested to hear kind of how that turns out too. I think on the same day, Crown the Empire is coming out with a new album as well.
That one I'm not as excited for either, just because I kind of liked Dave Escamilla's his streams. Oh, like there was just such a heavy tone to his screams. I loved his screams.
Interesting. Out of the new albums that we're having coming out in the second half of 2019, which one or ones are you really excited for? Because if you need me to go through the list, I can pull up a list.
Yeah, pull me up a list, because.
Alrighty, give me 1 second, because we've got a good amount. Now I gotta find the list. Here we go. So I've got Sum 41, Crown the Empire, Skillet, Volbeat, Slipknot, Killswitch Engage, Tool, Sleeping with Sirens, Korn, The Agonist, Hell Yeah, Alter Bridge. I think I'm missing one or two right now.
Killswitch Engage and Alter Bridge, those both sound really interesting to me.
Killswitch Engage, I think they're due out August 16th, and then Alter Bridge is due out sometime mid-October.
Victorious is actually that one's actually coming out on my 21st birthday.
Same thing with Volbeat's new album too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, they're both out on the same day. And that's your 21st birthday?
Yeah.
All right, how are you celebrating your 21st birthday then?
Not very well. I'm actually going to be driving to Wisconsin. My girlfriend's cousin is getting married, and so I'm driving out to Wisconsin for that.
Oh boy. Not saying that, I'm just thinking like just kind of, it's your 21st birthday, you're going to want to kind of go crazy, have fun with it. But right. You also don't want to go too crazy to the fact that this is someone else's wedding, especially with,
right.
with your girlfriend. You don't want to, completely make an ass of yourself.
Right. Right, exactly.
And then and then her family be known as quote unquote that guy.
Right. Well, I have a feeling cuz really the only family members of hers that I'll see is her mom, and her cousin. That's basically it. So
then you might just have to celebrate your 21st birthday the next weekend.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
And I was like, I wish I could remember some of the good spots in Minneapolis to point you to, but I really only ever really hung around campus, so that's really kind of where my mindset completely was the whole entire time. So unless you want to go around there, I can suggest where to go, but outside of that, yeah, I'm not the best. I'm much better when it comes to the Milwaukee scene, but I'm still not that good on that anyway.
Right.
That's why I always look at some of my friends one of my friends that's basically what he does. That's his life. So if I ever have a question of oh, hey, where should I go for this? Where should I go for that? Just ask him. But lately he's just been telling me to go to the bar that he works at. So, what you gonna do?
But yeah, what are you gonna do?
But hey, while you're driving back to Wisconsin, you get new Skillet music, you get new Volbeat music. So,
yeah, definitely will be something to check out on the way there.
So that is the Victorious album the one that you're looking forward to the most for the second half of the year, or is there or is Alter Bridge kind of got that a little bit over that one?
I'd probably say Victorious.
I think out of the list, that's the one I'm looking forward to most as well, just because I've been really getting much more into Skillet as the year has gone on. I'm also very curious for Slipknot's new album, which comes out the week after. However, that's going to be a tough one for me to actually listen to because, well, not going to necessarily be readily available to listen to it as much as I would like. Going on having some fun vacation time, so woohoo!
Woo!
Yeah, but actually, I got another question kind of regarding to that. Like, we have the second half of the year with a bunch of new albums coming out, but I want to jump to the first half of the year with what's already come out this year. What was the album that came out so far this year that you were just like, holy shit, this is the one. I'm loving this. This is easily has like album of the year written all over it for the first half.
I didn't listen to the full album, but I would say Disguise. That was a good album. That was, well, the singles. The singles were really good to me.
You haven't listened to the full thing?
No, I didn't get a chance to listen to the full album.
Andrew, you're killing me, man. So you've only listened to Disguise, Brand New, Numb, and Undead Ahead? 2?
Yep.
Here's what I want you to do. Whether today, after this, or tomorrow, listen to Thoughts and Prayers. That's a song in the album that I think is the best.
All right, will do.
It just fucking slaps. It's great. Otherwise, I got a couple albums that I thought were fantastic this year already that I want to get your take on and see if you listen to them. So, if you mind if we go that way?
I guess. I mean, I haven't listened to a ton of new stuff, so.
Alrighty. Did you listen to Fever 333 with the Strength in Numbers album that came out back in like January?
Nope.
It's straight like political punk rock to its core, and it just goes hard.
Is it like anarchy punk?
Yeah, it's like Rage Against the Machine, but
okay,
a little bit with like the pace a little bit picked up a little bit more angsty in my opinion. So
gotcha.
But like if I have to equate them with a band that's like, okay, what if you like this one band, you're gonna like them? It's Rage Against the Machine for sure.
All right, sounds all right. What was the name of the band?
Fever 333.
Okay. All right.
What about another one I have on the list? I Prevail's album Trauma came out.
Oh yeah,
end of March.
That one I did listen to. What'd
you think of that? Because I've got a friend that he's like, that's the best album of the year, hands down so far. You know, he's already calling it. Nothing's gonna beat it. But I'm like, there are parts of it that I didn't really like, but then there are parts where I was like, you got to be kidding me. They really did a fantastic job here.
I would say compared to Lifelines, I really, really liked it. It was interesting, like some of the EDM effects that they added in. Like I'm thinking specifically of Rise Above It. I thought it was interesting, but I kind of liked it. I'm not gonna lie.
I'll put it this way: there were a couple of songs. I think "Rise Above It" might have been one of them, but when they also featured like a female pop vocalist, which I've seen a bunch of bands do recently, and when they've done that, I just don't really like those songs, mostly because I kind of think those songs were constructed in a way for radio play in order to try and sell more albums and try and get more awareness to the public, which I do understand, but it just seems like kind of at times can be disingenuous.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally understand that.
However, you get a song like Bow Down to start out with that just goes freaking hard. And then I think my favorite song off the album was actually Hurricane because they went through so many different styles of music within one song and they transitioned through each one so well.
There's a lot of passion in Hurricane. You can definitely tell.
I thought that one was absolutely fantastic. One of the better albums that I've heard this year. So, and one of the better songs I've heard this year. It was constructed beautifully.
Right.
And one other one that I've got on here for an album that I absolutely love this year was The Dead Days by Get Scared.
Oh, I've been meaning to Get Scared for the past couple of weeks, and I just haven't gotten around to it.
Give a listen to that album because they go through a bunch of different styles. Like they'll do some metalcore stuff, they'll do some post-hardcore stuff, they'll do some pop punk stuff. They kind of just jump through, and sometimes they mesh them a little bit, but I know you're talking about earlier where it's like you were into pop punk back in the day, like back when you were growing up. If you listen to the titular song, The Dead Days, I think you're going to really like it because it really drives home that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like the intro, the first song on the album, that's really goes more, metalcore, and it's just a great mix all around.
All right. Noted.
All right, now I asked you about best albums that I thought from the first half of 2019. I got to ask you, the other side, what about the worst?
The worst. Oh boy.
Do you have a pick, or do you have an idea of what you might go with?
Uh no, not a clue. Not a clue.
Because there's always there's one that just stands out to me like none other right now, and that's Amo by Bring Me the Horizon.
Oh yeah, sure.
What
Sure,
did you
sure,
think?
sure.
What did you think? If you did you listen to that album at all?
I listened to Mantra, and I thought it was okay because it had a good beat to it. But other than that, yeah, no, it's
Alrighty, the rest of the album is nowhere near like Mantra.
yeah. I
It's a
kind of
lot
figured.
softer, a lot poppier, and oh boy.
Yeah, Bring Me the Horizon. No, it's they're going down.
Well, when it happened, because I was like, wait, they really went from hard as all hell, and especially with Asking Alexandria coming out that new single, I've been talking to some people because Asking Alexandria, I'll even say put this one, they went a little bit softer in what their normal sound is, and they were talking to someone from England, and they're like, yeah, at least like they did it right, unlike some other band from Sheffield. And I'm like, I know exactly what he's talking about. But I did a whole YouTube video regarding like why Bring Me the Horizon made the move that they did to go from what they originally were in like their first two albums to what they are now. Kind of seeing that transition, and I wanted to deep dive into it because I really wanted to understand why this happened.
Have you ever heard of punk rock MBA? Finn McKintry? I don't know how to say his name.
No, I haven't.
So it's a YouTube channel, and there is one video where he talks about how Bring Me the Horizon got so big, and that's one of the things they talk about is like how they just kind of stayed ahead of the time, adding a lot of like synthesizers and techno stuff into their more recent stuff, which I don't know how recent that video is, but
Well, I think the one that I did that was either in April or May when I did mine about it, and really kind of what I found was it was three different aspects, and the first aspect was from Ollie Sykes kind of talking about how he wanted to bring more or pop culture more into rock music by starting out with getting them into Amo and then slowly progressing them through their album, so going from Amo then to That's the Spirit and then to What's Come Beforehand, kind of slowly transition, which I do admire that he's trying to do that, but it's a real slippery slope due to the fact that I think people are just going to really just stick on Amo and then that's it.
right. Well, it's kind of I guess that could be also considered kind of like Linkin Park with Hybrid Theory.
Yes.
Where people just stick to that album.
But then again, like with me, especially with Linkin Park, like I actually liked Meteora more than I liked Hybrid Theory. And then as time went on, like I did enjoy Minutes to Midnight. After a while, I was kind of getting away from their sound. When One More Light came out, I mean, it was a completely different sound to the point it was, and I was very hesitant to really lean into it. But then once Chester passed, and actually listening to it again and really getting a full hold of it, it was something completely different.
Yeah.
And then shit that I was going through in my own personal life at the time when it was right after, or like at the time when that happened, when Chester passed, like the music really resonated well with me. So songs like Heavy and songs like One More Light, I know it doesn't sound like classic Linkin Park. It doesn't have that, that hard rock, that, maybe that new metal sound in a way, but the message behind them is just so powerful, especially when you give context to what happened.
Right, exactly.
But then again, I'll still listen to Meteora as much as I want to. Listen to songs like Faint, Somewhere I Belong, Breaking the Habit, Line from You, and of course, well, everyone's going to listen to Numb because Numb's just a fantastic track.
Right.
So we've seen bands kind of, one thing I'm always concerned about, and this is whenever I kind of get in a little bit of a issue with this. I want to see what your take is on this, because whenever I think of bands, whenever they kind of change their sound, because sometimes you hear people complain about bands and saying, I'm not necessarily in this band because they just sound the same all the time, or then people say I don't like it because maybe they tried something new and it didn't work out. I always respect bands when they try something new, but the one thing I always want to see is, we know what the band sounds like. We know what their core sound is. I want to see them, instead of, completely changing their sound, is experimenting with that core sound.
Yeah, I think when people say that, like, a band all their music sounds the same, I mean, there's kind of a reason you like that band, because they have their own style. And I suppose there is a difference between having a style and having every song sound the same. But at the same time, yeah, it's always kind of a risky path to experiment with stuff, because you don't know if that's going to attract people. You don't know if that's going to repulse fans or whatever. But
It's it's a risk you have to be willing to take. It's just when a band like, I will use Bring Me the Horizon as an example. From what they've done on Amo versus what they've done previously, it sounds like they've taken what their sound was and completely got rid of it, and like what their core sound is. Because again, I don't want to put a band in a box by saying, you can only make music with a certain sound, or like, and have that be it. But I want to see them experiment with it. But you have that core sound. It's the sound that you really created. The sound that, is at your home, like kind of like at your core. So I want to see it's still there in a sense, but you can easily experiment with it with certain bands. Like I'll even use Motionless in White as an example with what some of the songs they've done on Disguise, such as God, what was this? I can't think of this what song it was anymore off the top of my head. It's gonna kill me. Shit, I gotta look it up. But it was one where they went a lot slower. Let me just quickly look it up while I got the chance, if I can find it. If I can't find it, I'm gonna feel. If I don't say it, I'm just gonna be mad at myself. Another Life. That's it. Because Chris went a lot softer on that one, and with not as more clean vocals, but the message behind it was so powerful and how it was portrayed. That's like, but you still knew it was a Motionless in White song. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, that core sound was still there.
Right. Yeah, I think when experimenting, you do have to keep that core sound, but like, you can make little tweaks, but if you're just completely throwing out your entire core sound, well, that might piss a couple people off.
Well, even if you do kind of get away from that core sound for like a song or two, but if you pull it off real well, where it's not necessarily, completely what you normally do. I'm going to use Disturbed as an example, but this is a little bit different because I'm going with one of their cover songs. Because we know what Disturbed sounds like. We know their metal sound. But when they did the cover, The Sound of Silence, I mean, that's nowhere near like a Disturbed song. However, it's just the power that David Draymond's vocals are able to portray through that song. You really get the message across. Gives the song, it keeps the original's integrity, but gives it a completely new feel and meaning. So it's kind of like when a band does something like that. I don't want to necessarily use that as a prime example because it was a cover and not a brand new song or an original song by the band. But it's kind of like if you completely go in a new direction, completely strip away your core sound, you've got to think, you might piss off a lot of fans. You might.
Right.
Or all of a sudden it might be something like, I'm really interested in the way they experimented with this and tried this sound.
Mm-hmm. And, with media today also, like, you can even engage your fans and like ask them, are you guys okay if we experiment with it a little bit? I actually remember that Simple Plan did that when they were coming out with Taking One for the Team. They were doing a lot of Q&As asking people like, do you guys think that we should experiment with some new stuff, or do you guys like the old stuff, kind of thing? I actually have a story entailed with that.
Let's hear it.
So there's this one night, I'm just chilling in my dorm room, and I see on Facebook, I get a notification that they're doing this live Q&A on Facebook. And, obviously this is the band that got me into music, so I have a couple of questions that I want to ask them. And, there's several hundred people on this live stream, so I'm not really expecting to actually get on it, but I was desperate. I would type it like just at the right time, send it in like just when they were looking at the camera, kind of thing. And I actually did get one question through, so I even like posted it. I even like shared it on Facebook, like, Pierre said my name at this, this second.
I wouldn't necessarily say that's, being desperate. I'd say that's just being efficient and persistent.
Right, right.
I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk would be proud of you for that.
Yeah. No, I've actually had quite a few encounters as far as like um, talking to musicians online. I don't know if you've ever heard of the band Villain of the Story.
I have not.
Okay. They're a metalcore band from Minneapolis, and I've talked to the lead screamer a couple of times um, regarding like marketing and stuff. And or another one is the band Makeout.
Never heard of them
Ever heard?
either.
Okay, pop punk band from Florida. They were at Warped Tour 2018, and I've talked to the lead singer of that band a couple times. 2016, there was a band that they weren't at Warped Tour, but they were in the parking lot selling CDs. And they were based in New York, and I talked to him a little bit. I talked to the lead singer of that band. What was there's another one. Oh, there was another one from Minneapolis, a pop punk band called A Better Hand. I talked to the lead singer of that for a little at one point. And then my favorite was actually a couple weeks ago. There's this music marketer on YouTube. He teaches music marketing online, and I should probably start off with the fact that this guy, he's very much about the business of music. He doesn't really, it's not so much about the content or what type of genre you're going for. It's about fame, fortune, getting big, the business of music.
And guys, well, I'll put it this way, just to quickly just put my 2 cents in there. Guys, there's gonna be guys like there that are out there, and you can use that to your advantage, especially if you know what they're wanting to get done. Like for myself, like I pay attention to a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk stuff because a lot of what he's talking about, a lot of what he's about, is really what I'm driving at. So, and same thing with Andy Frisell of the MFCEO project, and then certain things that like John Tapper, the bar you guys says off of that. So basically, when you're listening to this guy that's talking about the business of music, making it big, this guy's main prerogative is getting the most amount of eyes on your content and getting the most amount of ears on your music.
Right, exactly. But yeah, I'm a musician, so I try to listen to some of his content, and take it with a grain of salt and that kind of stuff. And there was one video that he posted. It was about building your brand and like being able to tell people who you are. And he said, "Are you this kind of person? Are you this kind of person? Are you this kind of person? Are you this kind of person?" And when he was doing that, he mentioned all the people that he mentioned, all household names and pop artists. And to me, that just kind of turned me off to it because like I don't listen to any of them. He did mention like Metallica and Lynyrd Skynyrd, but that was about the extent of any rock artist that he mentioned. And so he always has an Instagram post that coincides with his YouTube videos. And I like just commented on his Instagram post, not expecting any reply or anything, and just said, it kind of bugs me that you used all pop artists because like, there are some people who just want to make a living off of music. Like they don't want to be a household name kind of thing. It just kind of turns the artist in me off. And 10 minutes later, he replies to the comment and he just goes off on me. He's like, "Oh, for Christ's sake, like the underground artist route is for losers. Like, if you want to go that route, well, I can't help you. I don't know why you're even bothering to watch my content, man." And I'm just like, okay.
All right, I see that's something where it's kind of, I'm not the biggest fan of that because you're just trying to add context to what you're trying to add context and give them like a suggestion maybe. And the best thing that a person can do like that is, even though he's consistently providing value through his YouTube channel and his Instagram page, that just doesn't sit right with me. Basically because there was a way where he could have basically kind of said that where it's what he believed in, but not basically sounding like a total dick.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I replied like trying to be respectful and everything, and I was just like, sorry, I actually love your content. I didn't mean to, give any disrespect or anything. Like, you're great at what you do. I was just trying to give my opinion. And he's like, oh yeah, it's okay. I'm not mad. Like, you just got to go all in or, go home. And I was just like, okay.
Well, I'm going to jump back to one thing that gotta go back to Gary Vee, what he says, because there are people that are, I'm just going to use this as an example because this is what he uses all the time. This guy knows people that are making like $47,000 a year, working a corporate job or working, a full-time job, have their like work-life balance down path the way they want it, and they're absolutely happy. I've got a friend he cuts metal for a living. He owns a house. He's engaged to be married. Dude loves his life. And to say that dude's not successful is ludicrous, because I always think of success is relative to the person, because it's all about happiness. Because and then going back to Gary Vee, knows people that are making like tens of $millions a year and are absolutely miserable. So it's like, so when it comes to you, it's like, you definitely don't want, you want to be known, but you don't necessarily want to be that household name at the moment, because you never know. Your thoughts might change. I just don't know. But it's something where it's, where your happiness is going to lie, and you're trying to garner your interest and kind of, grow your music by going that route.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's kind of, so again, when it comes to what this guy's talking about, I'm not saying what he's talking about is bad. It's having enough awareness to realize what his prerogative is, what his full motive is, and what he really believes in. And then being able to use that information to your advantage, especially if he's providing value by putting out all this content for free. Because you can take that and just run with it when it comes to growing your music. When it comes to growing your music and growing on platforms like Instagram, even Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, wherever. But it's just realizing what the main objective is, and then however much you subscribe to that objective, and then being able to take the information for what it's worth to you.
Right, exactly. Take it with a grain of salt. Like,
yeah, that's one thing one of my economics professors always said: always take everything with a grain of salt, or because some things, they're gonna say this is completely right. It's like, well, not all the time.
Yep.
Yeah. I miss that guy. That guy was freaking smart. Shout out to the University of Minnesota for that one. Woo! So, what are your future, what are your future plans? I know you talked about, trying to get an internship with a music producer, be doing that, and really working on putting out music content on Instagram and like YouTube. But do you have like a plan when it comes to trying to grow your music and grow your audience within the next year?
Just practice, and putting out more and more content. That's one thing that I picked up from a lot of these, music marketing YouTube videos, is just get your content out there, get people understanding what you're about, and yeah.
I totally agree, just because the fact of the matter is people try all the time to make content that's, gonna pop, like that viral piece of content. But sometimes, I'll put it this way, on Instagram, the most liked photo ever is a picture of an egg.
Yep.
Which is absolutely hilarious. And I love the fact that it was. I think I liked that when I saw it, when my friend was like, "Oh man, you gotta like, what is it? It's a picture of an egg. It's the Instagram egg." I'm like, that's actually kind of funny, just because it's some completely random. So it's just, it's anything can go viral at any time. You just don't know what it is. It's just got to get seen by the right people. But the best way to do that is, the odds might be one in a million pieces are going to go viral. But the more pieces you put on there, the better your chances.
Right. And even I've heard also that, if you work on one project till it's absolutely perfect, it's not going to compare to, 1 after 100 fails,
Yeah, I completely agree on that, because there's stuff that I do that, I'm not perfect at. Like, I'm not the perfect podcaster. I'm not Joe Rogan. I'm just not. When it comes to
Right.
YouTube videos, I'm not the best at those. Or, Instagram live streams, I think I'm pretty good doing those because I just like to have fun on those. But I know people that do them better. And then all the other content I do, I'm not the best at it, but the fact of the matter is I'm still going to put it out there no matter what and try and document the whole entire thing, because all of a sudden, if you watch my first video versus the videos I'm making now, you can tell there's a difference in quality, and that's just going to keep upping as I go every step of the way. Same thing's going to happen with you, because you're going to gain more knowledge and gain more expertise as it goes on, because if you're going to just keep working one song to death and make sure it's absolutely perfect, it could take you a whole year to do that, and then you put it out there. And if you don't put out anything else prior to that about the process of it, you only have one piece of content, and that's it. And if that doesn't pop, well, then you basically put a whole entire year's work into trying to make something pop perfectly, but it just didn't. When you could have been working on potentially, 10 or 20 different songs and just going through the process and just maybe posting a video about you practicing it, or working on the bridge of the song, working on the chorus, and that could be something that pops. You never know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you were saying, more pieces in is gonna, give you a better chance of one going viral at least.
And not only that, but the more you put out there, the more you learn about the audience that's watching you too, and the more you can learn about the people that are really listening to your music. Because I've gotten some of that from when I've talked to certain bands as well. When I've talked to Kingdom Collapse, because they've kind of been doing their own marketing up to this point, just basically all through social media, and they make sure they put out content that's top notch. I've talked to Ascending from Ashes, they're a band out of New Jersey, and I do live streams every single Wednesday, and so do they. They do like a live stream where they do 6 or 7 songs, and they just play, which is I think is awesome, because if people are watching, you actually get to listen to the music live and you get to interact with them. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah, that is actually a really smart idea.
And I'm going to throw another band at you, too, that I've talked to so far in the podcast called Trivial Difference. They're out of Alexandria, Virginia. I was talking to one of them today, or one of the guys of the band today, because they just got done doing a couple of shows, and he sent me a video they put out on Facebook of one of their shows, and I asked him if he was going to put it out on YouTube, and he said he didn't want to put it out on YouTube just yet because the audio wasn't there. Like, the audio quality wasn't there. And I said, I said, I can understand why you don't want to put it on YouTube, but I'm glad you still put it out there somewhere so that people can kind of see the process of, okay, this is where you guys are at. They did have good energy in the video that I saw, so they kind of did remind me of seeing John Cooper up there going absolutely nuts. Of course, they weren't at that point, but they had a base to work off of with that, and it's if they can get a lot, like when it comes to recording live sound at shows, they can get a little bit of a better sound to it, put that out on YouTube, and then they could, that's something that you can work with for a good amount of time.
Right, exactly. Building a portfolio, but make sure the content's good to the point where you're not, trying to perfect it, but at the same time, still getting it out there.
Yeah, exactly. And then when it comes to another thing, when it comes to growing your music brand, just being as accessible as possible is fantastic. And that I'm going to jump to Skillet as well, because I think that's what they have I think that's why the Panheads are just so ridiculously loyal and just into it, because Skillet might be one of the most accessible bands I've ever seen in the history of me really paying attention to music when it comes to their online presence.
Did you know that John Cooper actually has his own podcast?
I do, and I have listened to each episode so far, because I think he's got like 4 out. I think.
Yep.
Yeah, because it's called Cooper Stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, it's because he does I think it's like a monthly thing, or I wish it was like a weekly thing, and he kind of just does like 20, 25 minutes of just talking about music, life, and just kind of some random ridiculous stuff too.
Yeah, I totally wish it was like a weekly thing, but what are you gonna do?
Maybe I should suggest that and try and, because I've commented on a bunch of Skillet stuff, and I have gotten comments back from them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've tried actually seeing if I could get them onto the podcast so I could actually talk to them and just kind of make this thing blow up, because I knew the Panheads would absolutely love to listen to something like that.
Oh yeah, the fan base would just go poof.
I'll put it this way: they told me they did not want it. They were not able to do it at this time, which made me think, okay, they know who I am. They aren't going to do it, but that's not going to deter me from keep trying to grow it and keep trying to get them on there.
Right. You at least got your name out there.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to them commenting on like their Instagram page, commenting and replying to some of the comments that I make on their stuff is fantastic. And from what I know is the band is the one that actually is running the when it comes to commenting on Instagram, they're the ones that's running it. Mm-hmm. Particularly John.
Mm-hmm. I believe that, yeah.
Yeah, but where I was going to go with that is just the type of content they put out there, because they've got so much, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, it's all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And another thing about that too is that's where I'm going to go with, like, you really get to see their lives, like the process of what they do when they make music. I mean, you don't get to see the whole thing, but you get the little teasers here and there. And then you get to see their personal side as well, just them acting like complete goofballs, which is, always a joy to look at, because that's just life. Don't take it too seriously.
I actually, I watched the Disguise documentary, Motionless in White, on their website. They have a documentary on like the process of making Disguise, and I loved it. Like, it was just fun getting to see these guys, make a record, but also like goof around in the process,
I'll say I've watched only parts of that documentary. The two things I got was when they were recording, it seemed like Chris was just having a good old time no matter what, even if stuff was kind of not going his way or if there were some interruptions there. And also his t-shirt game was absolutely insane.
He looks so different without makeup. It's crazy.
He does. It is insane, but it's again, that's one thing I absolutely love, because you get to see a different side of the band that you're normally not going to see, or you get to see a side of them that, you go back 10 years even, you never got to see that from anybody.
Mm-hmm. And, they even mentioned that in the documentary, how like they've just grown so much as writers.
Oh, you can clearly see that too. However, I don't think that they were able to top what I think is their best song ever on this album.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if you would have... Well, I'll put it this way. What do you think is the best Motionless in White song of all time?
Ooh. I would... I mean, I don't think a lot of people would agree with me on this, but I would say Voices, just because that's the one that got me into them. And I just relate very much with that song. I don't know.
Alrighty, I'm not gonna go on you on that one, because when I first actually started listening to Motionless in White, which actually at the beginning of this year, when one of the other Instagram followers said I should give him a listen, and Disguise hadn't been announced yet, so the first song I saw, especially because I just jumped on Spotify, the top one was Voices. I listened to it and I was into it, and the reason why I don't pick it as their best song is because the song that was right after it on like the top listen Motionless in White songs was the one that I listened to, and my jaw literally dropped to the floor. I thought it was absolutely amazing, and that was also on the Graveyard Shift album, but it was Eternally Yours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I actually, so after I went to meet Simple Plan at Warped Tour, like I said, my buddies went to go see Motionless in White, and I went to go catch up with them. And that's how I got into Motionless in White, was they played Voices, said this song only came out 3 days ago, but you guys blew it up, and they played that song, and I was like, ooh, this is good stuff.
See, that's what happens though. I've done the same thing too, especially because with doing the Tough Mudder last year, even though I'm doing it this year. But while we were driving up there, we had one of my friends, he basically made a whole entire playlist, basically called the Mudder playlist, and there was 4 of us driving up in a car, and of course everyone else in the other cars are going up there, they're listening to pop and country, and here we are listening to hard rock, heavy metal, and that's when I started getting into bands like the Fever 333. I heard In This Moment a couple of times. I was kind of getting into, I heard a Hinder song that I liked. I'm like, geez. And that Black Veil Brides as well. I'm like, this is getting interesting.
I like this. I like it.
And then all of a sudden they had 10 Rise Against songs on. They're like, Kevin, this is for you to make sure you're happy. I'm like, guys, I'm already happy. This is fantastic.
What are you guys talking about? Well, I'll take it. I mean,
that's what I'm happy about with this year. We got the same guy. Basically, he's like, yeah, I'm taking the aux chord. I'm like, I second the notion. You're good. You're fine.
No argument there.
Yeah, however, the whole time up there, I'm going to be working on editing YouTube videos. So, woohoo!
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So looking forward to that. But it's just when it comes to, I'm just going to use that as an example. Basically, when it comes to friends showing you music, it's like that's a lot of the ways where people just discover it, where people just say, hey, check this out. And there's a good amount of times where people are like, oh, yeah, I'll check it out. And they don't check it out. But if you're able to equate it to a band that they like, it's like, oh, it kind of sounds like, one of your favorite bands. And you might say, oh, this song sounds like something that this band would come out with, and you're like, oh, cool, I'll give it a listen. If they like it, then they're going to explore more, like you did with Voices.
Mm-hmm. And that's why this podcast works too, is because you're just out here suggesting songs to other people too.
Exactly. Or when I bring on some like the bands to interview, because I've got one for next week's podcast already. That's going to be on like the small band Saturday thing, which has actually been probably one of the best moves I've made. And it was actually a suggestion from an Instagram follower to do something like that. And I basically was like, I like it. I ran with it. And some of the bands I'm getting on for Small Band Saturday I'm getting on the podcast and to talk to them, because it's getting them a little bit more notoriety. It's building my audience as well. And it's kind of like a collaboration between the two of us. And then they get to talk about their music. I get to suggest music to them. They get to suggest music to me, and we get to kind of have a good mix going between.
Well, also as a musician, I know that you constantly need new music to kind of inspire you to make new music. I mean, you got to build off of something.
Yeah, and especially with kind of like the music that you're really into, I think the second half of 2019 is going to be absolutely phenomenal for that aspect with all the new music that's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's even some bands that I have written on my list that I haven't seen albums announced yet, or like when they're being released, but they're expected this year. Like, I still don't know what's going on within this moment for theirs. They said sometime in August, but they released the name of the album, but then they said it was like an August release, but we haven't seen anything on it yet, so I'm not entirely sure. And the one that's pissing me off to all hell, because I've been waiting years for this album to come out. And no, it's not Tool, because Tool actually announced it, but Saint Asonia. They've been working on this for like 2.5 years. I'm like, I need the new Saint Asonia album. It's been 4 years. Come on, guys.
Yeah, it's ridiculous when a band will like drag that out.
I know, and and the thing I can't stand about it is it's like I love Adam Gantier's voice. I just need more new music from that, because I've been waiting so long for it.
We had the 3 Days Grace. Now, come on.
Yeah, and initially when 3 Days Grace came out with The Outsider, I really didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, but then I knew some of the premonition for me not really liking it is because I always liked 3 Days Grace so much more with Adam Gontier. Just this, because that's what I grew up on. I remember playing video games, whether it was like NASCAR Thunder 2004, when they had Just Like You and I Hate Everything About You as the songs that you like would just hear right away. It was always I Hate Everything About You, which was fantastic. You play the old like SmackDown versus Raw WWE video games, and like 4 songs from 1X are on there.
Right. So and it's always difficult to like stick with a band when like the vocalist changed, because then it's just kind of like it doesn't necessarily sound like the same band.
Yeah.
Like I remember Asking Alexandria when Dennis was the vocalist, and it didn't sound like Asking Alexandria. It sounded different. I liked it still, but it just didn't sound the same.
Yeah, well, I kind of gave 3 Days Grace a little bit of a pass now with Matt Walsh, because when I saw them live open up for Disturbed, my concern was, okay, what are they going to, like, how is he going to sound basically covering all the 3 Days Grace songs with Adam Gontier? And, of course, it didn't sound the same, but he did a real good job. And then the songs they've done with him, when I heard him live, it was something that actually changed my perspective on it, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm rather pleased about, because I really do like 3 Days Grace.
Right.
And it is tough when bands when they switch lead singers, because it does sound completely different, and sometimes it works out like none other. Sometimes it's absolute magic, and there's no better way to say it works out like absolute magic than referencing AC/DC.
Right, exactly.
Like that is the absolute top of switching vocalists. But again, so that's switching vocalists for Bon Scott passing away, and they have to do something. But when I
Exactly.
but I think about like I'll use like switching vocalists where it's just the member or the lead vocalist left and then someone new came on. Again, I'm gonna go a lot further back. Even I'm gonna go to same era with the AC/DC one. I'm gonna go Van Halen because when they had David Lee Roth, they had a certain sound, but then when all of a sudden he left and Sammy Hagar came in, they had a different sound as well. However, both sounds worked well with each other. When you compare the two, it's like I actually really like Van Halen when they were with Sammy Hagar because that's what I actually grew up on when it came to Van Halen.
Exactly.
So it does work, but there's times when it doesn't work, and it doesn't work more often than it does.
And I had mentioned to you this in one of the live streams. Austin Carlisle of Mice and Men.
Yeah,
so I've kind of had like a love-hate relationship with Of Mice and Men. I started to get into them right around the time Restoring Force came out, and I really liked that album just because there were a lot of bangers in there, just a lot of songs that you could just headbang to, a lot of fun. And then Cold War came out, and that was an awful album. I hated that album so badly. And now that Austin's gone, like I don't want to say that Austin was Of Mice and Men, but to be fair, like Austin just had a very distinct scream that you could really follow, and especially when in their younger years, when it was like Shaylee and Austin, he had a lot of just passion behind his screams, mostly because he was angry about like his mom's death and everything. But like, yeah, there's a lacking passion now with Of Mice and Men, or at least I think. I think now with Aaron being just the main guy up front, that like the songs sound somewhat cliche to me, and yeah, I think his scream sounds very generic in my opinion.
interesting. I actually really did like what they did with the How to Survive single that came out, I think back on Valentine's Day of 2019.
That one I was impressed with. I was impressed with that one though.
That one smacked. I loved it.
Right. But what were the other ones? Warzone and Unbreakable and Back to Me, like none of those weren't real intriguing to me.
Understandable, because again, if there was like some of my favorite bands, I'll like 3 Days Grace, they switch lead singers, but if like someone else were to switch lead singers out of nowhere, it would completely change up the whole entire thing, and it'd be very tough for someone like me just to kind of get into that. And I can see that happen with you with Mice and Men. So, but like, I hope some of my favorite bands never change lead singers, because otherwise I'm gonna probably have a little bit of a freak out there. But
emergency podcast episode. My band has gone.
Oh God, if that ever happens, then with my favorite band, it'll be like a week-long podcast of me just going through the emotions, and by the end of it, I probably still won't be able to accept it.
You'll just be crying the entire episode.
Oh, the first one I probably would. Honestly, if something were to happen to Rise Against, I probably would.
Oh man, yikes! Or need like Evie and Anthony to just be on there. It's okay, Kevin. It's okay.
Anthony would just make fun of me the whole entire time.
Yeah, I believe that. I totally believe that.
And Evie would probably be like, "Oh, it's okay," then probably kind of make fun of me too here and there. That might just be one just for me to do by myself, just to literally air all my grievances at that point. But I'll say this: that's never gonna happen, because that's not gonna happen to them. If it happens to someone,
we won't let it. If
it happens to another band later down my list of top 10, then I'll definitely do an episode about it, but I won't do like a whole week's worth.
You will fly to wherever they are stationed, and you will beg them to stay together.
Oh, if that were possible, I easily would.
Yeah.
That's why I hope I never have to do it. It's like, please work it out, guys. Why? We need your music.
Just work as a therapist. Just like, okay, all right, everybody, just listen to each other. Let's open a feelings circle.
Actually, I'd probably just go all like Morty from Rick and Morty. Like, get your shit together. Just get your shit. Get a backpack. Just put it together. Put it in the back. And just get your shit together. Get it together. Get it together.
I can't take this.
Yeah, I mean, that would just be just horrible. I hope I never have to go through that, but again, when it comes to doing something like this with all the bands I end up listening to now, eventually there's going to be something like that happens. And again, if something like that happens, emergency podcast for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I haven't done an emergency podcast in a while. I think I've done 2. And one was off of the Summerfest lineup, and one was off of a tweet that I really just wanted to get out in front of. I really wanted to talk about it.
Was that the Lizzo or whatever it was?
Yeah. I kind of went off on that one. Then I kind of was like, as I was talking about, I was like, okay, I kind of just have like a little bit of a different take on it, but very similar to what I was going off of. But then the Summerfest lineup, I ended up ripping that lineup to shreds.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I always, I had heard of Summerfest before, and I thought it was like a pop and country festival. I didn't think it was a hard rock festival.
It's evolved into more pop and country since I've been really going to it. Because my first year really getting into the whole entire Summerfest thing was back when I was between my sophomore and junior year of high school. So I was 16, 2011.
Mm-hmm.
In 2011, I mean, I saw some great bands there. And then as the years went on, it was like 2012, 2013 was like the last year because I knew and I can definitely tell you the inciting incident was Imagine Dragons being on a free stage. And then there was an EDM act. I think Pretty Lights was on another free stage, the 2 biggest free stages. And it was the largest night in attendance that Summerfest has ever had. There is nothing that's beat it so far. They stopped checking tickets because of how many people were trying to get in.
Oh, wow.
It was that insane.
That's crazy.
And I don't think they'll ever be able to beat that because this was literally right after Night Visions by Imagine Dragons dropped, and with its time, Radioactive was the biggest song at that point.
Right. I'm curious. What do you think of Imagine Dragons?
I absolutely despise what they've done over the past 4 or 5 years. I'll put it this way. I mean, I made a whole entire video about did Imagine Dragons sell it, and I said absolutely. Because I remember what their sound was back on the Night Visions album. That was their first one. And it was so completely different on almost every single song. It was so unique. It was more alt-rocky. And I'm like, okay, this is something that's really good. And I was really enjoying it. It was something that people who like pop music, people who like hard rock music that I really knew, it was something that we could all kind of get into because it all had different vibes or different elements that we all really liked. But as they went into I can't remember what the album name is, but I'm going to quickly look it up because I think I've got it somewhere here. Let me see if I can quickly find it. Shoot. It was the 3rd album though. I think it came out in 2017. And now I'm just kind of trying to talk just to cover up some time. Evolve. That one was the one where I'm like, what in the actual hell are they doing? Because they went full on pop with their songs. And the one that lost it for me was, Thunder?
Oh,
I was like, that's all you would hear. I'm just I'm like, what are you doing? What are you guys actually doing? And then I listened to the album that came out in 2018. That was literally the album came out the week before I made that video. So I got to listen to the whole entire album and give my whole entire take on it, and I'm just like, they literally just went straight pop, and it's just, ugh.
I am either going to make this song worse or better for you. So if you listen to that little thunder, if you listen to it and you think fun dip, that's what you're going to hear.
That's going to make me laugh if I hear it, but it's still not going to make it any better.
Yeah, no, Imagine Dragons is one that I've never considered them rock.
If anything, it'd be alternative from their first album. If anything.
Exactly. And I'd say the same thing with Panic at the Disco. That just never really consider them rock.
Panic at the Disco really started out more in that pop punk kind of sound, then more alternative, and now they're just going more pop rock.
Mm-hmm.
Much like what Fall Out Boy did.
Right, Fall Out Boy. Paramore is another one.
Yeah.
All American Rejects is kind of like that too.
Yeah, and then one of my favorite bands actually kind of went that route too with 30 Seconds to Mars.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I would say Simple Plan kind of went that way too, because Taking One for the Team had a single, Singing in the Rain, and despite being super happy sounding. I actually kind of liked it. I thought it was kind of a just, kind of a happy song.
Don't worry, that's going to happen too, because with 30 Seconds to Mars' most previous album, America, I really did not like that album. I absolutely, really just thought that it was a completely wrong direction. However, the initial single off it was Walk on Water, and I actually really liked that song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the same way I felt about that song, was just kind of like, it doesn't sound like Attack or The Kill, but I like it. I don't know.
Yeah, and because and I'm thinking about like what are my favorite songs by band, and Attack and The Kill are right up there. Attack is probably my favorite song by 30 Seconds to Mars. It just goes. It just goes. I mean, it doesn't go like as hard as other bands do, but for 30 Seconds to Mars, like I think it's their hardest song. It's just rapid. The vocals, the way the range is fantastic. The screams at the end of the chorus just fit in perfectly. And it's just I love it. And then there's other songs that are more, maybe more alt-rocky, maybe more pop-rocky, that I do enjoy. But then it's just when it kind of goes more into that pop sound, I'm especially from what I know what they've done and what they are capable of, it's like, okay, pump the brakes here, big guy. But then again, it's, even with some of the songs that are a lot softer, that are maybe more alt-rocky, pop-rocky, that, necessarily wouldn't sound like I would really enjoy, I do, because sometimes I just do enjoy them, and sometimes I've got like a personal connection to the song that really just drives the whole entire thing.
And I think there are like exceptions in every genre. Like, you may hate a certain genre, but there are exceptions in the genre that, you may not think you like, but then you listen to it, you're like, ooh, I kind of like that. I don't know.
And that's the thing why you don't want to say, like, I only listen to this kind of music, because say you find something within a different genre that you really do enjoy, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I actually really enjoy this. But now you're going to say, no, wait, I can't enjoy this because I only listen to this kind of music. No, if you're going to enjoy it, enjoy it. I mean, I'm actually going to give you an example for myself as well. When I was in college, like my freshman year, it was, I'm listening to like Rise Against, Hollywood Undead, Disturbed, listen to all that kind of stuff. But like my guilty pleasure at that time was Chitty Bang. I just thought I just like the sound. I was like, this is good stuff. Even though it's not something I would normally ever say I really like, I just liked it. It just happens.
Right. Exactly.
And it's good to it's basically kind of like, okay, you've got your, not to say you've got your set opinion. It's like I'm only listening to this. It's like you've got your own opinions. Yeah, you're going to be primarily within that specific genre that you really like and that you really associate with, but you're going to have those outliers that you're just going to be like, oh, shoot, I like that. And the same thing with,
exactly.
Like, I absolutely like the song Shut Up and Dance by Walk the Moon. I got into it so quick. And I was like, but this was before it even like really dropped and really became a huge thing. Like, I was into it. It just always puts a smile on my face. My mom will say like, oh, every time I hear that song, I think of you. I'm just like, well, that makes a lot of sense because my friends think the same way.
Yeah, that's me with My House by Florida.
Okay.
Like you can't not like that song just because of the piano bass line. Doom, 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 doom. Like, it just, there's just something about that beat that like gets your head banging,
Yeah, but I mean, so you're primarily go to that, more rock, hard rock, metal style for almost everything, but you're still going to have those songs like My House where it's just like, yeah, I like that.
I actually have a playlist on Spotify called Guilty Pleasures, and it's like any pop song that I actually like.
That's not a bad idea, because then it's sometimes you just want to listen to that kind of stuff. Or if all of a sudden someone starts playing that at a party and you're just like, oh, shoot, let's go.
Yeah. I'm going to want to jam to this later. All right.
It works. It completely works. So, yeah, guilty pleasures for the win. Woohoo!
Woo!
which is one of the reasons why, like, when people ask me, like, when I do like a lot of the stuff I really like 30 Seconds of Mars, it's like, well, look at what their music is now. It's like, yeah, but I still like their stuff. It's like, if that, I'll put it, that's like a non-guilty pleasure because I am not afraid to talk about it. So it's kind of funny that way. I mean, I've still got the poster literally sitting right next to me right now, and can't wait to go get another one.
Yeah. I feel like some people will just ditch a band if they don't stick to same sound they had before. I thought it was interesting. So this was a little after Fashionably Late came out, Falling in Reverse. Ronnie Radke did an interview where, people were calling him out for selling out with the Fashionably Late album. And he basically put it this way, that, if, let's say, you're not a huge fan of Pepsi, but one of your friends comes up to you and says, I'll give you $1 million to drink this Pepsi on camera, you're going to take the Pepsi and drink it. Like,
interesting take from Ronnie Radke.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I'll put it this way too. There's people that, like, when it comes to bands, like, there are people that are straight fanboys of bands or fangirls of fans, where it's no matter what they do, they're just going to absolutely love them. And then there's bands where it's like, no matter what they do, they're absolutely going to hate them. The one thing that I always try and think about is there's bands that I absolutely love, but I'm not going to be afraid to say, if I think the band made a wrong step, or if there's something I don't really like that the band did or a song they made, I'm going to say it because it's the truth. I mean, like, even with my favorite band, Rise Against, I didn't think The Black Market was their strongest album. I really thought they was kind of, at points, maybe a little bit kind of strung out.
Right.
I still like it, but it's just, I thought, at points, maybe not their best album. And I think a lot of fans also thought the same way. But then when they came out with Wolves in 2017, it was like, okay, they're back. We're good.
It's always interesting, like, listening to different people's opinions on different music and, like, just different people's tastes, and even sometimes the reasons behind those tastes too. Like, for me, my dad, when I was growing up, was also listening to the radio where there was a lot of pop punk playing. So that's how I got into that. When I was in high school, my roommate listened to a lot of metal. So that's how I got into that. And, I will freely admit it, my mom listened to a lot of country, and so I got into a lot of country too. So,
and that's totally fine. And what you were just talking about earlier is basically the thesis, if I'd have to say, for the whole entire thing that I'm doing here with the My Song of the Day stuff, is you're talking about, everyone has different opinions when it comes to music. So my whole entire prerogative was, let's build a community of rock music fans, hard rock music fans, metal fans, where we can talk about music and freely express our opinions. But when it comes to people having different opinions, promoting, when it comes to, okay, you got a different opinion than I do. Why do you think that? And it's like, well, I want to know the truth behind it. Maybe you have a personal connection to it, and just to add more context behind why you think that happened, instead of just like saying, oh, I think this way, and all of a sudden someone says, no, I think this way, and then you get into an argument. I'd rather have a platform where it's like, okay, this is a place where you can come and talk about music, and it's like, okay, give your opinion, and if someone disagrees with your opinion, let's see why. Because there's a lot of things that when I've commented on people's stuff, I've said something, it's like, oh, I really don't like it. And it's like, well, I liked it, so I kind of want to see why you don't like it. And there are times when people just say, I just don't like it. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not going to get any more information. But people that really kind of go deeper into it, it's like, I don't like it because this is something I really am in tune to. And what they've done now is completely different from that. And I just don't really mesh with it very well. I'd say, okay, totally fine. Now I get to see where exactly you're coming from and get a little more context behind it. And if it was, me not liking something, I'd rather have someone say, instead of, oh, no, you're wrong, say, well, why do you think that? Which is basically the thesis behind this whole entire project.
Right. And when it comes to being, like, open-minded to different types of music too, like, you got to know, sometimes you have to kind of know the story too. Like, you got to know the history, either behind the people who are listening to it, or behind the songs themselves sometimes too. Exactly,
which is why, like, if I would have go back a year and a half at this point, I would not have even touched Motionless in White. Nowhere near. But now, I listen to them all the time.
Right.
And that's another thing too. It's when it comes to some of the stuff that we do here with, like, the Song of the Day selections, it's, I'm at first it was kind of similar around certain bands. But then as time has gone on and people have actually been suggesting more and more music for me to listen to, I've just been growing it and growing to the point where now I look at some bands, I'm like, I would feature them like once a month. I'm like, oh, shoot, I haven't had this band in a while. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. I've always been curious, like, if I was able to, plug my brain into like an iPod, how many songs would actually be in there? Like that I've even just heard, like even songs that I've just heard, how many songs would actually be in there?
Mine would blow up. I'm dead serious. My iPod would just blow up.
Just
I don't want it to blow up though. I like that thing. I still use an iPod. I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to working out in the gym, I'd rather have that than my phone because then it's less distractions. And then I've got them separated so that it's like, okay, now I got all my music on this one. Even though, yeah, I don't really stream at all just because I don't know. I just don't want to use the data.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find it funny that like people pay for music streaming services, but that's kind of the whole reason we switched to music streaming services is because we didn't want to have to pay for music streaming. Like to be like, so it went from basically CDs to downloaded music to music streaming services, and people still pay for music streaming services, which granted it is cheaper than like buying the actual music, but I don't know. I just find it ironic.
It does. There are times where I'll definitely still buy the actual album just because I do want to support the artist in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like shoot, I'm trying to think of the best like a lot of the like Skillet's album Victorious. Yeah, I've bought that album because I like the band, I like the prerogative, I want to support them, and I want to see them keep making music, keep playing shows, keep doing what they're doing. So I'm gonna put the money into it.
Right, exactly.
Why not support them? If you like them, support them. That's why it's like with me, I've got a bunch of like Rise Against the 30 Seconds to Mars t-shirts. That's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Plus they look cool too, so haha.
Yeah, never go wrong with band t-shirts.
Oh no, I know I gotta up my collection. I mean, right now I've got a Dead Kennedys shirt on right now, which is rather wacky, but gotta love it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was like, I knew I wore this shirt for a reason.
Right. I feel bad for my brothers because they've like their hand-me-downs are, well, I don't feel bad, but they're gonna get a lot of band t-shirts as hand-me-downs.
I'd feel lucky if I got a lot of band t-shirts as hand-me-downs. But then again, if I was getting band t-shirts that were hand-me-downs from like my brother's music, I would be getting some really wacky stuff. Some good stuff though, because he's really big into ska, so I'd be getting a lot of like Real Big Fish and
yeah, there you go.
Goldfinger stuff, which, trust me, I wouldn't mind getting that, but then again, we're only like a year and a half apart, so I never really got those kind of hand-me-downs. If I was getting hand-me-downs, I would have gotten them from my older cousins who were into, like, I'm trying to think, Fish, Dave Matthews.
Oh, okay.
And that's so, really, that's just, that's not really not my style.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Because I think here in Wisconsin, like at Alpine Valley, which is like a outdoor concert venue like 45 minutes southwest in Milwaukee. Recently, they've just had Dave Matthews there for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew a lot of people that were going to that, like getting like party buses and whatnot. And I'm like, you know what? I'm good.
I'll pass on this one.
Well, it was the same second weekend of Summerfest too. And Skillet was playing. Dave Matthews or Skillet. I clearly went with option B on that one with Skillet.
I'll go with Skillet. I will take Skillet for 500.
Yeah, and then it's crazy too because now with I'm taking a look at like the music festivals that are going on around here, and now that Summerfest is over within Milwaukee, it's just the bands that are coming to like play at the rave in Milwaukee, and then seeing the bands that are coming out with albums and who's going to be coming up and maybe stopping by, because I've got right now on the agenda I've got Evanescence and Of Mice and Men on Wednesday, which is going to be I can't wait to see Of Mice and Men. That's the one I want to see more than Evanescence, but I'm gonna stick for Evanescence anyway. I've got Pennywise and Anti-Flag in September. That's right before Riot Fest. And I really want to go to Riot Fest because, well, a lot of punk rock and Rise Against.
Again.
And then I can't wait to see what else happens too, because as time goes on and we get more towards the end of the year, it's usually the rave has like 2 prime periods, and that's like November, December, and then March and April. And with all the bands that are coming out with new music, I cannot wait to see who comes to the rave. Because from what I've heard from a lot of people, that have gone to shows at different places and have been there. They're like, dude, you're lucky that is literally right in your backyard because that's one of the best concert halls we've been to. I'm like, yeah, I usually like going to that one or the Aragon in Chicago or the Sylvia in Madison because they all kind of have like again like that open floor plan seat like style, easy to get into, easy to get out, easy to mosh. Everyone has a good time.
Mm-hmm. When I was living in Appleton, during the summer, they would have a cover band play downtown every Thursday night, and so that was always fun to go to just to listen to live music. I mean, honestly, there is something about just listening to live music, even if you're not a huge fan of it, it's still just kind of fun.
Oh, it transforms your mood too. I would much rather go to concerts than I'll put it this way. I used to be I'm a big sports guy, but I used to be a much bigger sports guy than I am right now. And I'd love to go, baseball games, football games were just like the top tier thing. However, the feelings I would get to go when I went to football games, like NFL games, or when I was in Minnesota going to Gopher games too, because that was always fun going with my friends. But like going to concerts, it's just the feeling I get when I'm there is now for me is so much better than it is going to a regular season NFL game.
Right. Yeah.
So it's and like even baseball too, because the first game I'm going to is on July 15th. It's the first one I'm going to all year.
Wow.
When normally I'd been to like 4 or 5 at this point.
I was gonna say that's a little late or later in the summer, I guess.
Yeah, but I just haven't gone to one. Just been working on music stuff way too much. But honestly, I looked at it, I'm like,
never too much. Never too much.
Exactly. I've been looking at myself too, like self-awareness wise, like, okay, what would I rather be doing? Music or, going to ball games? Well, going to ball games is fun, but I've just been enjoying this music stuff so much that it's a driving force and I just don't want to get away from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I get you.
So in that sense, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. I feel like there's maybe or maybe not, but there's a little more of I want to say like interaction when it comes to concerts. I don't know. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I've got a perfect example for that too. With actually, I'll use my example for when I saw it in this moment. So Maria was constantly, talking with the crowd, constantly, going off on that kind of stuff. And then after the show was over, because there were a lot of people that were standing at the barricades at the front of the stage, and she jumped down and kind of had like a 15-20 minute conversation with people, and actually just talking with them, just saying, hey, how's it going? How'd you like the show? And then they were telling stories. They were swapping stories. It was like a group of like 100 people around there and her. And I was like, my God, that is fantastic. I love the move.
Yeah.
And when I saw August Burns Red, because I can't remember the name of the lead singer, like he jumped down from the stage at the end of the show and was just shaking people's hands.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much more of like a personableness to it because they know they're there to entertain the fans.
Yeah.
And they're going to make sure that happens. Now, when it comes to like football, baseball, it's a sport, they're there to play a game and they're there they're there to win and you're just there to watch.
Right, exactly.
And that's kind of the mentality that's used more or less instead of, you have fans there to watch you and support you and you're not putting on a show for them. You're trying to you're trying to beat the other team. When it's a concert, you're trying to put on the best show for the people that are there.
I think also like with music, it's more of looking for a community where as at a sports event, it's more being on a team against another team, There's kind of a divide at a sports event, but at a concert, it's all just one big group.
Yeah, man, I like how you put that too. That makes a lot of sense because I've seen more fights at sporting events than I've seen at concerts.
Really?
Yeah. But then again, once you get, Cubs Brewers or Vikings Packers, Bears Packers. Well, I know more about Vikings Packers because I'm usually the one wearing purple at those games.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Huh. We thought it was funny when we actually moved to Minnesota. Like, Wisconsin, they're diehard Packer fans, but Minnesota, they're just like, Yeah, we've got the Vikings.
Well, it was funny because when I went to college, it was on my dorm, my floor, my freshman year. I went there and I was surrounded by all Packer fans. And,
Really?
And my friends were all like, yeah, look at you come to Minnesota as a Vikings fan from Milwaukee and you're surrounded by Packer fans. How stupid do you think you feel? Do you feel? I'm like, guys, you're making me feel like I'm at home. This is nothing. I was told, plus anything you try and say to me, I can guarantee you it is not as bad as what my brother had said to me at one point.
Which was?
Shoot, I don't even remember. Plus, if I said it, I probably would get kicked off of whatever platform I put this on.
Oh, yikes.
Yes, let's not go there.
Let's not, no.
No, but it's it basically in the end, it was actually kind of worth it because it kind of just, made me calloused up my my feelings, I should say, because now it's like I don't let that impact me as much, which in turn has transitioned very well into creating the My Song of the Day stuff and the whole entire music community, because when people come after me if people come after me saying stuff like, oh, they don't like it, or if they try and get nasty, I've got a couple ways I can go about it. I can let it roll right off my shoulder. And I can kind of attack them with kindness and be like, oh, thanks for the feedback, even if it's completely, them yelling at me. It's like, oh, thanks for the feedback. And I'll always be personal about it, too, because I'll actually put a whole message in there. Not necessarily, I won't really, if I do that, I won't ridicule them. I'll say, no, thanks for the message. However, this is kind of what I'm going for. And I think that's the best way to go about it. So go that way. However, there are other times, I haven't done this on the music community stuff yet or with the My Song of the Day stuff, but I've done this in life where it's people just constantly trying to get to me, and it's like, I'm letting it roll off my shoulder. But if it comes to a point where it won't stop, then, and I'll make sure I'm not going to be the one that started it. I'll be the one that ended it, though.
Right.
And sometimes I've gone so far above and beyond where they think I could go with that, and I just completely end it right then and there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have to do it, but I'll do it.
Yeah, there's definitely a line.
There's definitely a line, and there's sometimes you can have some fun, but once it's the thing is once someone crosses that line with me, that line is crossed, and I'm gonna go so far above and beyond it that you're not gonna be able to go that far.
Mm-hmm. You're done.
Yeah, it's ended right then and there, but that's very rarely when I have to pull out, because usually I just let it again roll right off my shoulder, or kind of just especially with the music stuff, if people are kind of being more negative, I'm gonna try and turn that into a positive for myself at least.
Yeah.
And then for the people that are reading it, then they can see, this is someone saying something negative and he's taking it in stride. Mm-hmm. Or staying positive about it. You never know.
Yeah, just like kind of killing them with kindness kind of thing.
Yeah. And I can't, give them a hug.
Come on, buddy. Hug it out.
Sometimes it's needed, though. So
yeah,
give myself a self-hug. So I'll just sit here and just, hug myself, go, this is nice. And now someone's probably going to take that and be like, what the hell, dude?
Yeah, exactly. They're going to look at you and just be like, what are you doing? What?
Just hugging myself, man. Just leave me alone.
Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Yeah, it just happens, though. So it's like when it actually worked out in my favor just when it came to being prepared for anything that came my way when it came to the music.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Minnesota Vikings. Woohoo!
Dealing with the haters 101.
Pretty much, yeah. I could probably do a whole entire podcast for 3 hours on dealing with the haters 101, but some people might. But then again, I wouldn't go too much into the music, and I think that's kind of what I'm here for. So
right. Gotta focus.
Gotta focus, determination, and focus.
Yep, there you go.
Just made a taco quote right there on a podcast, and I am happy for the day. Woo!
I was going to say the trifecta, but
I'll say for any of those who don't know, I was referring to Taco from the FX show The League, which was one of my favorite TV shows of all time. Love that show. It's not music, it's about sports. But
Gotcha.
Yeah. But still, music. Woo!
Woo!
All right, but I'm taking a look at the time, and we've done over 2 hours already.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Yeah.
So we've done a ridiculous amount of time, but I got to tell you, man, this was awesome.
Yeah, I loved it.
How about this? Because I know you're working on music and working on trying to get into music production, get an internship as a music producer. If you get an internship shoot us a message, let us know, or let me know, because, well, if you shoot the My Song of the Day page a message, which you will, guess who's seen it? Me! Because I respond on every... It's all me still, so I just respond on everything. And then when it comes to the music, if you get something that pops, or if you get something that you want us to maybe feature at Small Band Saturday, just shoot it over to me, and we'll make that happen. Otherwise, how about we check back in maybe in 6 months, bring you back on, and we'll see how you're doing.
Yeah. Also, if you run into any bands like from Small Band Saturday like that need a guitarist or a bassist, or I play drums a little bit, but like if you're willing to plug me in, that'd be awesome.
How about if that happens, we'll stick more with the string instruments.
Okay.
Because it sounds like you got a lot more confidence on that.
Yep.
Perfect, especially if they're around the state of Minnesota. That might work out clutch for you.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, we'll see what happens, because I think I do have one band from Minneapolis I'm already featuring on, I think at the end of July, but I don't think they're in need of a new member right now. But if I see something that happens like that, I will definitely let you know and point you in their direction.
All right, sweet.
And if I see anything else anyway, I'll point you in their direction anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, woohoo!
Woo!
Alrighty, well, perfect. One last thing before we go, Andrew, if you don't mind. I got one question to ask of you.
All right.
Can you let the people that are listening to the Chord Progression podcast know where they can find your music?
Just basically on my Instagram page. My username is Some of a Walking Paradox. Yeah, right now that's all I've got. Soon I'm hoping to get a YouTube page up, and that'll just be Andrew Schuler. Other than that, just keep an eye out, I guess.
All right, for everybody, if they want to check that out, I will have the link for Andrew's Instagram account, Some of a Walking Paradox, in the notes below. Well, on the, not notes on the podcast. So, yeah, I'll have it on there so you guys can quickly go check it out, and then you don't have to go search for it. Make it as easy as possible for you guys. So, yeah. Woohoo! All right, Andrew, we'll take off from there. So say goodbye to the people, and we'll talk to you back in the podcast in about 6 months.
All right, see ya.
All right, see you, bud. Thanks for being on.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, goddamn, we just did 2 whole hours with Andrew, and I gotta say that was another fun conversation to have. Naturally, we started out going really heavily into music, and then we went off on a bunch of tangents into something music, and then at the end we kind of got a little bit broader, which, again, I love doing this because I get to have conversations with you guys like crazy, and I'm absolutely in love with it. So I want to give a big shout out to Andrew for being on the Chord Progression podcast, brought to you by My Song of the Day, Rock 2000 to today, because, guys, I love doing this. And yeah, so thanks for stopping by. Next week, I've got another special treat for you, because we've got another band that's going to be from Small Band Saturday that's going to be on the podcast. Oh, shoot. That was not what I was expecting. I'm still leaving that in there because, well, when my gaffes happen, they're kind of funny. So I do have another small band that's going to be on the podcast next week. They're called Gold, Frankincense, and Myrrh. They are what they call a beautycore band. 3 women, they rock freaking hard. I've listened to their stuff, and I think you're going to absolutely love them. And now I'll use the music because, well, I'll add that to it. Again, I'm going to leave that gaff in there because I thought it was hilarious. Well, thanks for stopping by to the Chord Progression podcast, guys. I absolutely love the fact that you're supporting this, and I am more than happy to be your friend. So, we're going to end it the same way we always do. This is Kevin from My Song of the Day, Rock 2000 to today. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression podcast. And you guys know how I end all the videos, all the podcasts, and everything. See y'all!